tripod or anything. Technology kind of got the better of me. I scheduled this meeting for everyone on my phone, thinking that I could like start it from my laptop. And now I see that the things that I do on my phone doesn't connect with the laptop YouTube, so I have to hold my phone in my hand too, so you're able to see me. Okay, so hello everyone. Thank you for joining. Hello Ellie and Zoa. Thank you for joining us. I also encourage very strongly to give questions regarding this subject, psychic protection, psychic attacks, and how can we like manage our energies in order to have a more fulfilling life experience. Since if you're like intuitive, then you have all these problems that we are super sensitive to all the energies around us. And we also get, well, not necessarily always, but we can have this possibility of being attacked or having negative psychic influences in our surroundings, or like something tries to get into your field, just like parasites. In the real 3D world, like it's the same thing also in the etheric world. You have parasites there too, like little entities that want to siphon your energy for their own survival, basically. And also there are like bigger guys that basically want to do the same, but they are far more difficult to get rid of and are far more clever on how they operate. Many people are not even aware that they are having these influences in their lives, or they are having these attachments or implants that are strengthening specific negative aspects of their lives. And by strengthening it, that implant or that being that put the implant there is gaining a lot of energy. Basically, it is feeding off those emotions and that state of being that you are in when you're in a lower vibrational state, because that's like the only time when they're able to siphon energy from you and basically feed on your energetic field. And that's pretty much like the same thing also with people, like energy vampires. They are basically the same damn thing, only in the 3D realm. These can be people that seem very genuine and nice, but still they have that little dark side to them, that they thrive on being the victim or victimizing other people or bringing other people down, causing pain for others, or yes, similar stuff like that. Also the egotistical narcissist that every empath attracts in their life to learn valuable lessons, like those people basically. So basically that's they are the same thing, just as the energetic parasites or vampires. The only difference being that they can come into your 3D reality and you can have a conversation with them. And also those people can, I think in most of the times they usually do have some kind of attachments to going on with them. And that's kind of what's strengthening that negative aspect in them. So they always need to cause drama and pain to others so they can feed the parasite that is attached to them in certain ways. And we have to be very aware of these people. Who are these and like what tactics they can have to bring your energy down, to basically put you in this victim mentality, to play this blame game that they usually do, to bring down your energy. And also, yeah, like we naturally have this instinct that, okay, like we're empaths, we're energy healers, and we are here to bring peace and balance, and we are here to help people. And when you're like, I've seen this with many, that when you're like detaching yourself or saying no to these people, you think of yourself as like, I know, like being a bad person, you're not helping them, or you're rejecting them for selfish reasons. And basically, you can't really help them, or in many cases, they don't even want to be helped. They just want to like perpetuate this cycle. And by like really trying to help them genuinely, you're like opening yourself up to them and letting yourself be dragged into that circle where they can like feed off of your energy. And like this is like in general, but there are also cases when they like do want to shift, and you're at that stage in your evolution and self-development when you can like effectively hold your own energy to be in like in a safe protected space, so you can assist them like really assist them and not let yourself be dragged into their drama and what you're trying to overcome. But in my experience, most of the time, these people don't really want to change. They don't want to help themselves. Like many times, I've met like people who are asking for help, and yeah, like they want you to fix their life in certain ways, and they want you to do all the heavy lifting and work for them, and they don't want to work on themselves. And that's not how it works. Like, you have to take responsibility for your own life and your own actions in order to actually make some kind of change in a beneficial way. So yeah, be very careful with those people, all you empaths out there. So let's see what everyone is saying. Hello everyone. Hello Nora and Ren. Okay. Hi, blessings to you all. I'm working to clear energies in my head and pelvic floor sacral. Excuse me, sacral. I keep experiencing a rush of sensation inside my head when I'm trying to fall back asleep when I wake up during the night. Good day, everyone. Love to you all. Thank you, Angie. Yeah, like I've also been experiencing since the new moon this state of agitation during the night. Like I'm having difficulty sleeping usually. I mean, in the past few days since the new moon, like I feel like I'm far more agitated than usually, and I have no clue. I think this is like an influx of some kind of new energy that is bringing stuff up, maybe, and it can be very difficult to sleep during this time, especially when, yeah, when you're like agitated a bit and you're not at that peaceful state of mind, then stuff can more easily come in. Like, this is also one of the things that I wanted to address regarding psychic protection, that your ultimate way of protecting yourself from these stuff that you don't want to have in your life is by actually changing your own vibrational state. Like, as the more you heal yourself, the more you work on yourself, and the more higher vibrational you are, like literally, then these things can't really come into your life, or you can perceive them, but they won't have an effect on you because you're kind of like moving above where they are able to move. So you can still perceive them, but they won't have an effect on you, only if you want them to have an effect on you. And yeah, but that's like the super ideal state in everyday reality, especially when we just had a awakening, or we are in the process of working through our karma, all this stuff, like our traumas, our circumstances are very good at like dragging down our energy. And what can you do in those cases? Because like that's, I think, the majority of us. And this is where actual energy work and psychic protection comes in handy. Like you being able, like raising shields around yourself, creating a protective barrier that protects you from everything that it is not of your highest benefit. It is very important to do this consciously. Like I recommend doing it every day, especially before you go to bed or do your meditations. Some of you are probably doing like astral projection or exploration or maybe channeling or healing during your meditations. And it is very important to do protection before you're doing these activities. My throat chakra is trying to block me from saying these stuff, I guess. And it is very important to set yourself up for success before going into these activities. Also, sleep, like you're setting up boundaries on what can happen and what cannot happen, what you can perceive and what you cannot perceive. And yeah, like, does anyone want to me to address like the sleep time part, or and the day-to-day activity part, like when we are among people? I mean, usually I probably will do both, but what are you most interested in? Okay, so Ram Knock. My head feels that's a lot of. Yes, I have already read it. Okay, hello, Kay. Good day. Love and light to you all. Okay, so I do try to imagine a rainbow circle around me, centered in my heart space. I'm trying to find ways to make it more effective. yes, like doing consciously, like protecting ourselves and doing consciously healing stuff and calibration ourselves is the best thing that we can do in order to protect ourselves from all these stuff. So I highly recommend starting from the heart center, going within, like doing a few clearing breaths, making yourself calmer. I usually do like three slow breaths, taking deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. Like this clears the mind, and also your entire body just starts to go into that deeper state of relaxation very quickly. Or also you can like try like the tapping technique, which I will not demonstrate right now because I only have one free hand, but it's very effective too in changing your energetic balance and emotional state like very rapidly. But like yeah, like everyone can breathe, like that's the most effective thing that you can do. And when you're starting to calm down in that clearer state of mind, start to focus on your heart center and see that little spark of light, that little white fire that burns inside your heart center. And like start from that divine perspective because this is your connection to source, this is connection to your true self, your higher self. And basically, that is the force that gives you life and holds you here in form, making all of this possible. And also, that is the force which you have to use in order to manifest, to transmute, to heal, to create reality in general. And when you're performing your magic, that is the center of your power, basically. And from that center, I would usually call upon uh, Mother Earth. I would go down into the core of Mother Earth and then reconnect with Heavenly Father or the Central Sun or whatever you want to call it and become this pillar of light. And from that centered state, being this pillar of light connecting heaven and earth, call upon the archangels that you're working with. And if you're doing protection, I highly recommend Archangel Michael. Like I think like his energy or his consciousness is like the ultimate protection that exists ever across the cosmos. Like work with him for protection, and also he's like superb for removing unwanted influences, intruders, and stuff that you wouldn't want to have in your field and in your home, especially during the night. So whenever as I think it was in Hellboy, like when things bump in the night, then you have to call on Archangel Michael and work with him. Uh, yeah, like ask him for guidance and assistance. Ask him clearly to remove any and all influences from your field and all from your home, from your entire life experience, all intrusions, to close all portals, windows, gateways, and doorways through which your energies can be observed and or manipulated as far as they extend, closing up all connections that are like influencing you in a negative way, and put everything back into alignment and transmute all energies in connection in this life experience into the purest expression of divine love, basically. To put everything back into balance so you can have a fulfilling life experience without all that intrusion and interference that we have here on planet Earth. Okay, so some of you have commented. Let me see what just happened. Okay, so hold the light. I'm feeling like there is a new energies about wanting us to step into more freedom, and it's harder to live in a program such as work, school, where you're not free. Yeah, like thankfully I'm not, or at least our family, like our daughter is very small. She doesn't even go to kindergarten. We are very lucky at this very challenging time that we don't have to do these things. But yeah, I still have to do work too. And I think like the ultimate thing that you can do is whenever you go to work or in these situations, to do this protection work with Archangel Michael, like ask for his help, guidance, to be with you constantly, to guide you through these experiences. And what I have done in the past and it was very effective, especially during like very challenging social meetings or when you're having I don't know, like a challenging, you know that you're going to have like a very challenging social interaction with people that you don't prefer to be with. And yeah, like before you go, like definitely do protection, ask for your guides, protection, assistance, clear yourself. And when you're in the situation, I highly recommend working with the violet flame. I also recommend you doing it on a daily basis, especially before you go to bed, because it clears out all the junk that you have accumulated during the day, allowing yourself to sleep much more clearly because you're not taking all that garbage that you have attracted from other people and going with it to bed and to sleep. And the more you get used to working with the violet flame, like in the beginning, when you're in the middle of some kind of challenging situation, focus on it, like ask for its guidance and assistance, and ask it to flow through your entire being and to transmute all density, fear, doubt, everything that is of lower nature, and to continuously like just visualize that violet color inside of you and around you. Like what really helps me to anchor it even more is like find some kind of purple item in the room, or maybe you have like a necklace or an accessory on your hand that's like violet color, and from time to time just look at it and like anchor again, bring up again in your visual field that violet frequency. That always like helps me to anchor that energy more effectively, especially when you're like, I know, like talking to someone and you do have to focus on them to a certain extent. And when you're becoming very adept at this, then you can like emit the violet flame, like let it flow across the room to through your surroundings, and basically with that you're like transmuting the entire situation, the entire field that is like having that is happening there, the entire energetic interaction is like being shifted and turned around. And this is kind of how you can, yeah, like I don't know, like yeah, it's basically you're influencing to a certain extent people around you by actually like transmuting their surroundings. Also, if they're like open to it, then you're basically transmuting their energies too. So if they have like a lot of dense emotions in them, if they're like agitated or angry and they're letting in this violet frequency, then it is transmuting their gunk and trash too, not just all the tension that you have inside of yourself. And I think most of the time, or at least in my experience, like people are open to it. Like the only time when they are not receiving this violet flame energy is like if they have like a very conscious block, like not necessarily energetically, like they don't have to be like spiritually awake or energetically conscious people. They just have this incredible blockage regarding you, maybe, and your entire being, who you are. Like they are like rejecting everything that you are and comes from you. Then probably they won't receive it in that case. But usually, since the majority of people are like super unconscious of these things, they're like always open to everything. And this is how manipulation can come into very easily. And this is why we're in the situation that we are in the past 2 years, basically, because people are very much unaware of themselves, how these things work, and they're basically open to everything, like all influences. But in this case, they're at least open to the violet flame, which assists them to raise their vibration and work through their own stuff, basically. You're assisting them in that way. And also, your mere presence when you're like super grounded and centered is also assisting them because you're emanating that grounding energy, that centeredness, that peace and calm. And also, like, yeah, like if you're an empath, then all of you, I guess, had multiple experiences of like totally random strangers like being attracted to you, and all of a sudden they want to tell you their life story and stuff like those weird stuff that kind of happened to us, or just random people that know that you can point them in the right direction or ask you how what the time is or stuff like that. And usually these are like people who are not necessarily like aware spiritually, they can be, but their higher self, or to a certain extent, they are attracted to you because they like on a certain level they sense that you can provide something that is of benefit to them, so you can assist them to a certain extent in a way. Just absolutely your mere presence can shift their energy too. Yeah, so who you are, you're like constantly emanating that energy, like all the blueprints, all that balance or healing energy, that awakened aware state, you're like emanating that constantly, and people are attracted to it. Like you may have that experience that people just randomly would want to, I don't know, like touch you just very briefly, or say something to you, or just connect with you in some way, basically to like get a piece of what you are or what you can provide to them. And yeah, like this is why it's so important to go in, or when you're going out to the house, going maybe just shopping. For some people it's like very difficult to just going to the store, even if it's like a smaller store, because you're interacting more intimately with those people. Because I know, like when you're in the street, you're just passing by people, but when you're in the store, you may also have to interact with people, come closer one to another, and you're in each other's field basically, and you're being exposed to all of the stuff that they're going through at that time. And especially now that everyone is like so agitated and stressed out, and it's even more difficult. Like for some of us, it was like super difficult just in general. We're like, there are people that are so sensitive that are unable to go to crowded places because it is very difficult to be exposed to that much energetic noise, basically. And yeah, like I've heard that some people do the violet flame cleansing before they go out, they do the protection before they go out, and also like they send the violet flame to everyone to transform those situations. And in generally, like I think like being very centered and like conscious of your emotions and what is happening inside of you, like really helps, because like we are so conditioned and programmed to focus on stuff that's like outside of ourselves. And we also have this notion that we are like constantly like distracted by something that is like happening somewhere else, somewhere out there. And like yeah, like every second, like this is absolutely true for me too. Like all of a sudden I catch myself thinking on stuff that's like somewhere completely else, like in time and space. And most of the time it's not even related to what I'm doing or what I should be doing. And it just completely takes out of my center, and I shift my focus to something completely outside of myself. And that can be also, to a certain extent, a disempowering energy. And this is also the challenge of us, like when we are in social interactions and we have to hold our energy, and you have to actually have to interact with someone or talk to them, then basically you're, yeah, like you're putting your focus on something that is outside of yourself. And after a time you can like sense that you're like losing your balance or your centeredness, and it is a very difficult state to keep your centeredness. But the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. Like I haven't mastered it yet, but I'm getting better at it, and it's like super helpful. And the very best thing about it is that, especially when you're like surrounded by like agitated people, is that you can keep your calm much better. And when you're much more centered and calmer, then you can resolve situations much more easily. Because if you're in that agitated and tense space, then your mind and your energies don't flow. Like that is like a very segregated state of being, a very stuck way of being. And most people are in that state. And this is the and that's in this state is where this reactionary habit forms. Like when you're in that state, you can only like react to stuff, like jump on people, and this very limited way of behaving is what is most common to people. Like people have also been conditioned, like all of us, to not to think but just react to stuff. Like yeah, and this is also completely in tune with like putting your attention on something that is outside of yourself instead of being centered and present in who you are, basically. And let's see what else has happened in the chat box. Archangel Michael is very helpful indeed. So hold the light. I would like to hear more about sleep. I am doing well, standing in my power while awake. Yes, I'm not as much in control while asleep. Yes, like I think this is kind of partially what we have addressed last week with the astral projection and astral traveling and all the weird stuff that can happen during the night. Is that many people like try to be very much aware and like control that state, what happens during their dream time. But the problem with it is, like, I bet there are people who can do, but the problem with it is that it just kind of happens to us, like the majority of us. You're just sleeping, you're very relaxed, and all of a sudden, this strange experience just flows into your awareness, and weird stuff happen. And most of the time, if you're like done like a lot of work on yourself, then this can be like a very interactive experience, like because you're traveling to a different realm, which has its own sense of physicality, which has its own sense of, yeah, like that's basically another reality where stuff can happen. You can have interactions, you can learn stuff, you can do healing or help others. And yeah, like that usually kind of just happens to us. And when we are like very lucky, then it can be a conscious and interactive experience. Like you can interact with your environment or beings or people that you meet during that experience, but most of the time it kind of just happens. And also when like these weird stuff happen during the night, yeah, like I also think like it's we're in a far more fragile state when we're like sleeping, and if we haven't done like proper protection work before it, or we're just in the state or in the phase of our lives when we're like very low vibrational, when we're like going through very difficult times, then our energy is very low. And in those states, we are very much open to all types of influences to come in because we have like lowered our state of vibration. And in that bandwidth, like beings can more easily come in to like take advantage of that state. And yeah, like that's when stuff can happen, even if you've done your protection, probably does help a lot. But yeah, like when you're waking up to an experience like that, or like something very frightening happens in your sleep, or you're having like an experience that, yeah, like I had these experiences when you're like just dreaming and like stuff are happening. Maybe you're observing something, or you're having some kind of astral experience, and all of a sudden like just everything goes dark and you have that sense of like claustrophobia, that like everything is like closed up and you couldn't leave and you can't leave from that space, or you can't wake up, which can be also very frightening, and you sense this feeling of dread or something very cold. And that's also kind of like a type of intrusion, that something comes into your dreams, or while you're traveling the lower astral, something finds you and like captures you in a way. And yeah, like when you wake yourself up from that state, it can be very difficult to like get rid of all the nasty energies and like ground yourself and be very centered because you just was sleeping. So you were like so relaxed, and it's for most of us, like it takes quite some time to like come back to full awareness and be very focused, because in order to like do protection and do all these energetic work and manifestation, calling upon your guides, like banishing dark beings or stuff like that, you have to be very much centered, awake and aware. Like you can't do it in this super fuzzy state when you're like half awake only. So yeah, like I think I've shared it many times. I always use the Kadosh 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 Adonai Sabaoth mantra. Like at least use it 3 times, say it 3 times. The more the better. And that's something that you can do like in all states. Like I've done it so many times, and I also done like meditations. I start my meditations sometimes with it, repeating the Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh Adonai Sabaoth mantra like 12 times at least, and your subconscious like just gets used to it, and when like something happens and then all of a sudden it just kicks in like some kind of security system. I think like that's, oh, I think I'm causing the problem for you people there with the microphone. Sorry. And it just kicks in like some kind of security system. Like it happened to me many times that I had these psychic intrusions during my dream time, and all of a sudden I just in my mind I started to repeat the Kadosh 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 Adonai Sabaoth mantra, and after like I said it like twice, like the whole experience just dissolved and disappeared. Like in some cases, the beings were still there, but I broke the entire spell, or as you would call it, the entire experience. I've broken out of it thanks to the mantra, because like when you're repeating it, you're tuning yourself to the higher realms. You're connecting with your angelic guides, basically, and you're calling in all your light being support team, basically, or your support team comes in and breaks you out of all the dense situations, basically. Because when you're like putting out this signal, it is a type of, you're calling for help, basically, in a way, or just in general to raise your vibration. And when you're doing it, then all the energies that are necessary for you to raise your vibration or to break out of dense stuff come in and like very quickly assist you out of that state. And when you're like repeating it multiple times, you can also ask them to remove all intrusion, to remove all negative influences or aggressive beings, and to close all windows, portals, gateways, and doorways that are can through which you can be observed and manipulated through all extensions and all timelines and dimensions, and transform all this reality related to your life experience into the divine expression of creative love, and just basically put everything back into balance. And after you have calmed yourself down, you can like go back to sleep because like the whole situation has been remedied. I think I've shared like two videos a few months ago in my vlog section regarding this. Like I had a few experiences during the summer and autumn last year, which I've shared like what has happened to me and how I remedied the whole situation. And like the key to it was this Kadosh, 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 Adonai Sabaoth mantra. And yeah, like that's kind of like kickstarts the whole clearing process and the whole healing process to bring back everything into balance again. Okay, so let me see. Mira, I feel I felt sick on 2/2/22, and I feel so much better today, though it could have been a psychic attack to stop me from manifesting that day. It could be, or maybe it was like an ascension symptom too. Like I also felt, I think the new moon was on the first, and after that we had, yeah, like the 2/2/22 portal, and we were going to have the very interesting portal like on the 22 February, when it's going to be like 02/22, 20, 20, 22, 22. Oh my god, there are so many twos in that date. So yeah, like it can be also a psychic attack, but also we're having these ups and downs energetically and physically. Like, I don't know, like I'm having a relatively okay day, and all of a sudden, from 1 hour to the next, I start to feel very tired and almost like sick, like flu type of symptoms. And maybe I just have a little rest or just let it pass, and in a few hours I'm back to normal, or yeah, like that can totally happen. And it's a sign of us like changing and transforming who we are. Our bodies are changing, our minds are changing. We're opening ourselves up to a much larger and grander reality. And yeah, like it takes a lot of energy, time, and effort on our parts. Like our bodies have to change a lot too, because if you're shifting in consciousness, then your also your physical body also needs to adapt so it can house more of your higher self and be basically, if you're evolving spiritually, if you're becoming more enlightened and connected to the higher realms, then basically your physical body needs to reflect that state of awareness in which you are, basically. This is also why so-called spiritual people are more advanced on their path. They also change, like, you can see, like, physically them changing, like their entire aura or how they look physically is like entirely different, that you can become like much younger. Yeah, like I also noticed, like, spiritual people who are actually like very proactive in their spiritual evolution and what they do on a daily basis, they look like far younger than they actually are. And also their entire, I know, like their vibration, what they're emitting, it's just far more beautiful, even though, I know, like, and attractive, like, even though, like, they're not like a supermodel, or they're not like these, I don't know, like these poster boys or whatever, but still, like, their aura and the energy that they're emitting is like far more uplifting and attracting and interesting than people who look actually like just physically beautiful, but there isn't really much behind it, or they're struggling consciousness wise. I hope you're getting what I'm trying to say. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so one love. Any tools visualize crystals that can help protect against negative projections from people in person or from afar. Like, I'm not an expert on crystals nor on anything else for that for that matter. But yeah, like, I know that all the, like, the black stones, like obsidian, I think certain the onyx is very good for protection. And yeah, like, anyone who knows which stones are really good for protection, please put them in the chat box. Um, yeah, like, I use shungite for protection. Yes, and shungite is like very good for. That's also black, by the way. It's a meteor stone, so it's like an alien rock that has come to our world, and that's like superb for protecting yourself from EMF, from electromagnetic radiation. That like includes like everything that is electronic, cell phone signals, Wi-Fi, like that stuff is everywhere, or even satellite signals. That's also everywhere, sadly. And like shungite is really good for protecting yourself against that. That's also a black stone. Obsidian is like superb. I'm not sure for EMF. It's more like for energetic protection. I used it in the beginning, but there is just so much like what a stone can do or a crystal can do for you. Like, you need to be the one that does the heavy lifting. Like, the crystals and all these tools are basically there to kind of assist you in holding space and assisting you to in channeling or grounding energies, because like, they're more like better for holding energies and frequencies, especially crystals. You can clear them out. You can do it under like flowing water. Some people put them out into the moonlight. I have no clue how effective that is. Like, I buried them. I put them in like a very thin plastic bag or something similar, and I buried them outside and leave them there for a few days. But it's also very important where you leave them. Like, if you live in a very densely populated area and you just bury them on the side of the road, it's probably not that good. Like, if you can take it out into nature, that would be like superb. And yeah, like, when you put them out in the soil, down when you bury them, like, basically the whole ground, the soil has like this neutralizing energy to it, and like brings everything back to its balance, because like these crystals came from the soil, basically. So millions of years ago they have developed underground, and you're putting them back, and hopefully Mother Earth recalibrates their energies to assist you better. And after you have like took them out to the soil, or you have finished with the water cleansing stuff. I think you can also use clear salt, like fresh salt, not salt that you have already used for different purposes, because like salt has the tendency to absorb energies, like especially negative energies, like it's superb for clearing things. But if you have already cleared something with it, then I don't recommend reusing it for the same purpose. And yeah, like after you have cleared your crystal, you can like reprogram it very intentionally, like send it I usually hold it in my hand, and I'm like channeling energies through my body inside into the crystal to like recalibrate it for specific purposes, because like I want it to fulfill a specific task for me, and I'm like reprogramming the structure of the crystal to hold that energy for a specific time, for as far as it can hold it basically. But yeah, like it's not necessarily that limited what crystals can do, although they are like a very basic thing. But when you're like talking about like very strong intrusion or like energies that are very potent, they can like override the crystal protection. I also had like an occasion, I think it was in 2013. I had like a very this big obsidian pendant, and it was like this thick, almost a centimeter thick. It was a pretty big chunk of obsidian, and I wore it in my neck like a necklace. And I also had it with me while I was sleeping. And one morning when I woke up, the pendant was broken in two. So that very big, hard, and thick piece of crystal broke in two during the night. So I think someone said that probably it did its best to protect me from something during that night. Okay, I have no clue what happened, but yeah, like after that, I kind of stopped wearing them since I found out they are. I mean, they're effective to a certain degree, but it's not an ultimate thing that can help you with every occasion. Okay, so Angie, you can use amethyst. Yeah, like I haven't used it for protection, although for healing and also for grounding the violet flame. I usually used it for that and also recommended it to many people that I work with. That especially people that are into healing, I have recommended to them to like use it with a violet flame to like program the crystal to hold the violet flame frequency. And when you're like working with someone or you're working on yourself, you can use the amethyst to like amplify and ground even more the violet flame frequency in your physical reality, and to basically emit that frequency constantly. Okay, so Ramnock. I asked for Metatron, Sun, and Sandalphon, Earth, to gather my fragments with melon-sized quartz, oh, that's very nice, sealed in UV fire, and return them to my oversoul, and eventually return it to me. Yes, like I think like that's very similar to what I was like explaining regarding like connecting with the core of the earth and the central sun being this pillar of light connecting in heaven and earth. And yeah, like I haven't done this stuff with crystals necessarily, but it's very cool. Like clear quartz is like, as far as I understand it, like a very neutral, multi-purpose crystal that you can like program for anything basically, because it's like so, yeah, like also like its state, it's a clear, it's almost like glass, like it's a clear crystal, like you can program it with whatever frequency because it can hold it, like it can also like channel energies very well. Okay, hold the light. Yes, violet flame is amazing. I like to call my higher self to embody me also during uncomfortable situations. Yes, that's also super helpful. So, Justin, hello, Guardian. Thank you for this live and happy to be able to join. Thank you for joining us. Hello, Star Family. Okay. Olena, thank you for joining us. Huge heart energy coming from this transmission. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, like it's awesome to connect with so many of you because like we're amplifying and holding each other's energy. Yeah, and Svetlana, thank you for joining us. Thank you so much. I really needed that. Yeah, like use the violet flame as much as you can. Emma, hello everyone, long time no see. Interesting topic. Thank you for joining, Emma. Okay, so one love. I'm around a lot of people at work. Tons of energy I'm surrounded in all day. Yeah, like that's super dizzy and disorienting. Yeah, like it's the same thing with like going shopping or just going for groceries or like having a very difficult, I don't know, like social interaction with your family. Yeah, like I also did my psychic protection before I went to work. Like, thankfully, I don't have to go to the office for work anymore. Like, I phased out of that part of my life like 4 years ago. But yeah, like for me, it was also very challenging, especially at the end of it. Like, I was like shifting so much out of that environment and like the general energetic sphere that the whole office and that work was in, basically, that it was like super uncomfortable for me too. And like the only thing that I was able to do is like going with protection, do clearing on myself, and thankfully, like it was a type of environment and job that where I had the opportunity to like go to another room or in certain cases go to the bathroom and sit down on the toilet to meditate and do some clearing work on myself because you can always excuse yourself if you want to have to go to the bathroom, basically. Like, you don't have to explain it to everyone because everyone has to do it from time to time. And just go, and usually people would leave you there alone, and you just can be alone and focus on yourself and like use the violet flame or do whatever type of clearing you want to do and just put everything back into alignment. Like, I think that's like super helpful, like especially in challenging situations. And hello, higher vibrations. Thank you for joining us. I hope everything is well. Hello, Guardian, and everyone. Listen, listening from the dentist chair. Oh my God, sending you all so much love and many hugs. Thank you, and may everything flow in perfect balance in the dentist chair. Okay, so Olena, and they take your good energy and help them. Yeah, like crystals are very good for like grounding your own energies. Although, like, you are the one that needs to do the heavy lifting, in my opinion. Hold the light. Thanks. I will go back and watch the astral video. Yeah, like there was some very good stuff on how you can like um, practice the whole astral projection. And yeah, like one of you, I think it was holding the light, hold the light. I think you were the one that asked. You have pointed out that yes, like when we're sleeping, it's far more difficult to like do protection and like remedy situations. But when we are awake, it's far more easier because like conscious and aware of what is happening, and we are our head is much clearer basically when you're awake. And yeah, like this is also good with astral projection. Like go into it while you're awake during your meditation because it can be a far more aware and conscious experience because your intent is far clearer. And this is the same thing with your protection work too. When you're awake, yeah, like prepare yourself for situations when you have the opportunity to be alone, to be calm, and to be centered, because like that's when you are able to effectively manifest and bring in these energies and to prepare yourself for difficult situations. For when you're like in the middle of the storm, then it is very difficult to like find your center again. Emma, I meditate every single night before sleep and set my vibration high as possible and set an intention to keep it through the night. If I have much less attacks. Yes. Yeah, like that's like the best protection. Like if you're higher vibrational, if you're like done a lot of healing work on yourself, if you have done like a lot of energy work, you're consciously and regularly doing work on yourself, healing yourself, balancing yourself, making sure that you're healthy and you're okay, and you're trying to focus more on stuff that actually raise your vibration and assist you in life in a positive way rather than bringing you down, then in general you're kind of like phasing out of that reality where you can attract these attacks and negative influences. So, blue clarity, I know the mantra. I will also post it in the comment section. The Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh Adonai Sabaoth mantra. Okay. Could you spell that, please? Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh Adonai Sabaoth. There's also, you can like write it in YouTube, and there are like videos like repeating it like for half an hour or 100 times over with some very relaxing music. And also, Higher Vibrations has just posted it in the chat section. The Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh Adonai Sabaoth. I have no idea how you, how you write it clearly. I mean, how you write it correctly. Angie, I feel a lot of heaviness and sometimes like my legs are rocks. Does anyone feel that? Yeah, like I think probably it's the phases that we're going through right now. Also, like, I do like yoga type of stretching each day to like loosen the energies in my body. Like, especially if you're, excuse me, if you're doing like a lot of sitting work, like you're at his office, or I don't know, like you're sitting at a table all day long, then yeah, like your legs, the energy in your legs and your lower back can kind of get like stuck and stagnated. So you have to do like specific movements to like break up that stagnant energy and to bring back everything into proper flow. Like it's the same thing with like our energetic body as well, because like, they are basically connected and dependent on each other. But yeah, like if you have blockages in your field, in your energetic flow, and the stuff that is vital and necessary for your health and basic functioning isn't able to get to the needed spots, then basically it will create physical illnesses and problems. Like it's the same stuff, like especially in a Western society, we do a lot of sitting and we don't focus much on the flexibility of our legs. So after a few decades, our legs become like very stiff, and some people, even in their 50s, are unable like to bend their knees properly or to kneel down or something like that. Like they're so not stuck, but they're so rigid. And if your body becomes like very rigid, and then basically energy isn't able to flow properly. So if you're even if you're like taking medication or supplements to remedy specific stuff, then those things are unable to get properly to the needed location because all the flow is blocked basically in your body. So this is why it's so important to keep yourself flexible physically and also mentally and emotionally too, especially here on planet Earth. Jocelyn, weird stuff happening to me lately. Wi-Fi stopped working for no reason. Lights flickering and bath toys activated by water going off outside of the water. As for Archangel Michael's protection, yeah, like asking for Archangel Michael is always awesome, but this can be also like we are shifting so much, or we're like so high vibrational that we have like effect on these electronics. Like many people say that you're experiencing these stuff, like lights flickering, or some people have the tendency to I know, like to trash electronic equipments like their phones or their laptop or whatever just gives up after a few months because I know, like it cannot support your energy any longer, and it just something goes wrong inside those equipment. Okay, so Angie, I go to Gaia and ground when I feel heavy, but I can feel my spirit come down. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, like also grounding is very superb. The aquarium just turned off. So grounding is super important, and also connecting to the higher realms. Like this is that is why I always recommend like starting from your heart center grounding, going down to the core of Mother Earth and going up to the central sun, becoming this pillar of light connecting heaven and earth, because you're grounding yourself, but at the same time, you're connected to your higher self, the higher realms. And basically, that's this why we are here. Like, we bring the knowledge of the higher realms into this reality, and it's like okay in certain phases of our journey to like phase out and like be very like drifty and floaty in our spiritual life. Like we're like some people are like detaching themselves from the physical reality, also from their body, because like they're so much into the higher dimensional stuff, because it resonates a lot more with them, because that's where we come from, and that's also what is far more comfortable and more pleasant to be. But yeah, but at the same time, we're a human being, and that means that you have a physical body and you're connected to the higher realms, and you have an eternal soul that is expressing itself in a physical body right now. So you have to maintain that balance always, to like be very aware of your high dimensional self, but also keep in mind that you're a physical being who is like living in this physical environment, and you have your physical needs, and your body needs a lot of taking care of and a lot of maintenance, because we're going through a lot right now. So let's see what else has been happening. Ramona, is it true that gamma wavelengths is an ascension wavelength? I have no clue. I have no knowledge of those things. Although I think it's like a higher vibrational like frequency that like doesn't really affect our physical bodies. Like I think I may be saying something very stupid. I'm not sure. So Blue Clarity has shared Moldavite. Yeah, like I've used Moldavite for accelerating growth and also like connecting to the higher realms. I am not clear if it really helped, but it was something nice. Oh yeah, and it's like super expensive, which is not very cool. Like when I tried to buy one, I just got like a very tinsy rock, and even that was very expensive. And also it was like very polluted because it was cheap. So if you're like want a very clear Moldavite and a relatively bigger one, it's going to cost you some money. Okay, so Deborah, black tourmaline, I think that's how I pronounce it in English. Amethyst, Numite, and Shungite. Yes, those are awesome. Okay, let me catch up with Thing. So Jocelyn Selenite is great as well. Yeah, I think like Olivia recommended that too. So, hello, beautiful people. Greetings from Transylvania. So Deborah, Troika has been teaching about the violet flame and clears the original tincture to help you manifest and work with the violet flame. Beautiful meditation with Saint Germain violet flame. With Saint Germain violet flame, yes. Yeah, like you can also work with Saint Germain, like he's the ascended master who is holding the violet flame, and also he teaches. He can also guide you how it works. You can ask for assistance to hold the violet flame, to teach you new stuff, and to anchor it more clearly. Okay, I really needed. So, Angie, I really needed this today. Everyone, thank you. Thank you for joining. Love you all. I'm glad to catch up. Okay, thank you. Hold the light. I had the same splitting with selenite. Oh yeah, I like to think they have completed their intention for learning something through us, and they are now getting a new experience as two pieces. Okay, so Blaine, you guys wake up with empathy like I did. 6 year old, you should find your center and get clear, be clearer, and work is helping others for yourself. Yeah, like you have to be consciously working with your gifts in order to not have a very nasty life experience. Like most of us, especially when we start out and we have our initial awakening and our empathic abilities go through the roof, we tend to attract stuff that can be very detrimental. Like I attracted many illnesses and physical stuff from others because like I had like zero clue on I even had those abilities, not to mention that you can actually work with them. So yeah, like if you're not consciously aware of these stuff and you're not putting in the effort and conscious intent to work with it and manage yourself energetically, then it can be also very dangerous because yeah, just your not just your mental and physical, but your also to your physical body because people can you can take away illnesses from others and physical conditions, and that can be even more dangerous. Like I think I took away from someone meningitis in 2013, which I was able to heal with the violet flame, and I had no clue at that time that what I had. I just felt very sick and tired, and my head was hurting like hell. And I got very scared, and I worked with the violet flame for like 3 days intensively. And I always like got the signal from from my guides to go to a neurologist, go to a neurologist. And I was like, why? Why would I want to do that? And after like 1 week, I went to a doctor, and I described like what I was experiencing and what I was going through, and they ordered like all these blood tests, and I was like tested, I think, like for everything possible. Like there was like 2 pages of parameters that they tested me for, and the next day when she was like looking over the test, she said like it doesn't make any sense because like what I was describing was like meningitis, but you don't get well from that from nothing basically. You just don't recover from that from one day to another. And all my results were like exceptionally good. Like that's what she said. And I think that was the last time I went to a doctor, basically. Yeah, and that was a very strange experience, but at least it was like comforting at that time to have like a medical expert check you out to say like okay, like every parameter is good, so basically you're healthy. Like we I have no clue what happened, but at least you're okay now, I guess. But yeah, like this doctor practice. But even though all your results are exceptionally good, still I have to prescribe something for you. So very after a few minutes of thinking, she decided that she's going to prescribe a bit of magnesium or something, and I thank her for that. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining me in this event. Thank you, High Vibrations, for joining us from the dentist chair. I hope you're doing well on the other side. Okay, so hold the line. Stretching is so good. I love Tai Chi. Oh, you also do Tai Chi. Awesome. I also love working with swords. Tai Chi, moving your energy through. Yeah, like also yoga is superb for energetic balance in your physical body because like these types of movements were kind of like developed for being a more holistic type of exercise. Like we have on our Western world, you go to the gym and you do, I know, like THX or whatever type of exercises, and you go on the running band or the bicycle, but those are like very monotone type of exercises. And energetically, I don't really think they have any influence over it. Like they are not balancing exercises, but yoga and martial arts in general are because like they are utilizing also your energetic body to its very effectively. Also martial arts, you're channeling the energies of the earth through your body into your opponent to hit them basically, or to derail their attacks. And yeah, like I don't know, like any one of you heard that like martial arts in general kind of come from the stars. Like I know that some cultures, like the Pleiadians, they also have like practices. Like they don't go to the gym, but they also have their own type of like physical exercises. With I also heard like they some of them work with swords. Like also in Tai Chi, you have the sword form where you're not fighting anyone with a sword, but you're doing these choreographies and like energetic exercises, balancing and stuff with a sword, and that's kind of what they're doing too. And most probably, just at a certain point in our history, these stuff were like introduced in our world too. And it's very interesting to think that martial arts comes from the stars. And probably yoga too. Like, I bet that there are many races that do similar type of energetic balancing for the physical body, especially because there are like a lot of ETs that are very similar to us, or rather, we look like them basically because there are like many humanoid ETs out there. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining me in this beautiful event, and hopefully we will be able to meet next week too. And look forward for Sunday's message. I have written the Sunday message on the 2222 portal. That's very nice on how to manifest consciously your reality and how to shift your own energies if you're interested. So stay tuned and see you on Sunday. Have a beautiful weekend and see you soon.